Well, President Biden provoking questions tonight. He is the second Catholic president in U.S. history, and he's become the first ever to omit the word God from his National Day of Prayer proclamation. Let's begin there with tonight's panel. Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall and Republican pollster Chris Wilson. Great to see you both tonight.
Nice to see you, Shannon.
Okay, so David Brody over at CBN tweets this when the proclamation came out. He said, Joe Biden's National Day of Prayer proclamation has been released, and it doesn't even mention God once. How do you release a proclamation about prayer and not mention God at all? Of course, it mentions climate change and racial justice. Truly, this is pathetic and not surprising. Chris, what do you make of it?
You know, for a president who's based so much of his identity on being Catholic, it's pretty amazing. To issue a proclamation that could have been written at a Berkeley Tea Party is just another sign of how far left President Biden will go to pander to his most extreme elements. I'm sure President Biden is sincere in his faith, but the wokes and the secularists are running the asylum here. The proclamation turns prayer into a self-help ritual that's no more important or valuable than writing your dream journal. And according to Gallup polling, this is a country where still 80% of America believe in God. And so it's really a ridiculous proclamation that turns its back on the 4 out of 5 Americans, adults who believe in God and worship God and see prayer as something important to lift up to God, in order to proclaim the values of minute minority of the Democratic Party. It's a bunch of operatives who spent too much time reading Marx and Lenin instead of C.S. Lewis and the Apostle Paul.
Well, Leslie, you know, I heard Franklin Graham, a well-known pastor in his own right, the son of Billy Graham, say he thinks maybe the president didn't even actually authorize this or read it over, that they came from staff or someone else, primarily because the president has made so much, or at least a lot of people around him have made so much about the fact that he has this strong Catholic faith, that he goes to Mass on a regular basis. Franklin Graham sort of giving him the benefit of the doubt, thinking, I think maybe some staffers who were trying to be PC wrote this. It doesn't necessarily reflect the president's view on the National Day of Prayer. What do you think?
I think that most things that come out of the White House are not written by a president, whether it's Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, or even if we go back to George Washington or Thomas Jefferson. Look, Joe Biden says at the end of every speech that he gives, whether to Congress or whether to the American people, and may God bless our troops. Google it. Look at all the videos. Every time his last lines, as we know, his son, who is deceased now, Beau, was a member of the military. And may God bless our troops. Joe Biden is a very strong Catholic, but we have to remember, although many of us think that prayer and God are synonymous, if you will, or go together, there are some people that don't pray to God necessarily. They have a spiritualistic faith, and they may pray to a different entity. So I think whoever wrote it, it was in the spirit of inclusion. I don't think President Biden wrote it. Like I said, I don't think any of the presidents write those things. And I have to say, Shannon, it's a cold day in hell, and Franklin Graham and I agree. But I would agree with him on this.
Okay, who knows with George Washington? I think things were maybe a little less busy and complicated back then. I mean, they were building a nation, but maybe he actually read what went across his desk before it came out. I don't know. Okay, I want to get to earmarks now, because we talked earlier about how Republicans and Democrats do this. I think it's one of the things that people will say they do not like about Washington. They find it distasteful. We're going to put up here for you 4 things and ask you, I'll read through them, what you think is real and not real in these new earmarks. A $3 million bus tracking app, $2 million for a pickleball court, $900,000 to implement cost-efficient models of distance learning, and $1 million for relocation and renovation of a Planned Parenthood center. Chris, I'll let you take the first stab at what you think's legit there.
Oh, gosh, that's not fair. Unfortunately, I probably think they're all legit, but I'm going to hope that the bus tracking app is the one that's not legit.
Leslie, you want to take a stab at that?
I'm going to say the first 3 are legit, and the Planned Parenthood is not legit.
Okay, we were playing a little double cross on you guys. All 4 of those things are real earmarks that either Republicans or Democrats have asked for, and we included 2 from each party there. So $3 million for an app to track buses, $2 million for a pickleball court. That one is in California. $900,000 for safe, effective, cost-efficient models of learning, and $1 million for a Planned Parenthood health center. Real quick final comments from each of you about these earmarks, knowing both parties are doing it. Quickly to you, Chris, and then Leslie.
You know, I think it's another issue that has kind of been swept under the rug because there's been so many other things we have to worry about. And every time we look at the explosion of the national debt, we've got to look back at earmarks and realize this is something we need to focus on again. And it's too often we see things like you just pointed out that you could really make a strong argument that each one of those can be funded by state or local governments and really don't have a place being funded by the federal government.
Leslie?
Well, I think many of us remember pigeons in space, and we also remember toilet seat covers. And I think whether it's a Democrat or Republican, the American people get tired of it because, you know, we've all had to, especially this past year, tighten our belts and cut the pork in our own bank accounts, checking accounts, and households.
Right.
And we expect the same with our tax dollars for our politicians.
Yeah. Yep. Leslie and Chris and everybody at home, these are your tax dollars. Make your voices heard if you love it or if you don't. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.